So a little boy named Alex attends his grandmother's church for the first time, and he walks in the lobby and he sees these plaques with names on it. And so he asked his grandmother, he says, "What are those? What are those names for?" And his grandmother says, "Oh, honey, those are the people that have died during the service." So he looks at her and kind of turns, kind of white, and he said, "Is that the 9:30 or the 11:30?" Often in talking about Memorial Day every year, as I surrender myself to God, to allow the Christ consciousness to flow through me, I go on a wide range of different feelings and emotions and experiences, some broad, some joyful, some happy, some teary, some from all over. And I always come back to the place of the value of teaching, the importance of Memorial Day, so that our youth, so that our young people can understand part of our history, though it does not have to define us, it is necessary to describe us, yes? And so when you think about Memorial Day, I ask you the same kind of thing, is that what does Memorial Day mean to you? For some people it's that aren't vegetarian, hot dogs and hamburgers and cookouts and launching the beginning of summer, happy times. People start talking about vacation and stuff like that, unless you live in Florida, and we vacation all year long. And we thank God for the power of our memory, how powerful our memory is that even sitting here in the midst of those two songs, you called up so many people, so many experiences, so many moments. God has blessed us with significant memory that we can pull up our times of childhood, of the first time we went to the lake, or the first time we went to Disneyland, or the first time we said goodbye to someone we love. We have been gifted with this tremendous faculty called our memory. And of course then there's the practical memory also that's very important, like remembering when you come up to a red light, what that means. Remembering when your anniversary is. George and David, write that down. Remembering your wife or your husband's birthday is practical memory, right? Things that are very practical and necessary to remember in our everyday lives. But for Memorial Day, we visit that essence and that conversation, so we will remember, so we will hold memory of what is important. And part of our social theology, part of our engaged spirituality here at Unity, is that we hold the space that is about what we are for, not what we are against. Do we agree with that? And so we on the collective, which by the way, much praise to you, that in the midst of you, some of you having a 3-day weekend, and we're happy for you, those of you that get that you are here today of all the places that you could come, that you decided to come here and worship and experience God and life with us. Thank you for being here. When in Scripture there was the great flood with Noah, God sent a reminder as a covenant to this earth. Do you remember what the reminder is? A rainbow. The reminder of a rainbow. And every time, either energetically or unconsciously, we see a rainbow, there's that great reminder that there is this connection between the heaven, the consciousness, and God and the earth. And we ask ourselves, in a time like Memorial Day, when we focus on what we're for rather than what we are against, when we think about the hundreds of thousands and perhaps millions of people that have given their lives so we sit here comfortably and have this pleasure-based abundant life that we have, when we think about that, it's also necessary at the same time for us to think about the work, both inner work and exterior work, that is ours to do, those things that we are for. Because even though many of us in Unity go, I don't really believe in war, that's a really nice statement and a mantra, but there are people in your neighborhood that are at war within themselves. There are little children that face some kind of war every day at home, in the streets, down the road. There is this energetic field that, though we may not believe in it in one capacity, we still share a world where, yes, we believe in a mantra that we are one, but more importantly, let's talk about, as one of our Signs of Mind practitioners said this week in our meeting, let's talk about beyond where we're one, let's talk about how we're connected. And so when you live in a world, and I live in a world where I'm connected, it's not just a easy thing for me to say, well, I don't really believe in war. More than that, I ask myself, how am I still entertaining war? How am I holding prayers for things to be different? How am I holding a space that things can be different? Because just from the very nature of our consciousness, if we hold it, do we believe things can be different? Do you believe things can be different? Well, I know you do, because if you didn't, you wouldn't take the time to drive over here on Sunday if you did not believe at the core of your being that things can be different. You know, we always give credit to the candle. We always give credit to the candle. It's not the candle that makes the light. It's the wick. It's the wick. Have you ever bought a beautiful candle and you go to light it and there's no wick? How did it go for you? Right? It serves no purpose. You don't even know what to do with it, so you put it in a drawer. I know, I've seen. I won't go there. Anyway, let me stay on track here. What is our wick? Our wick is our covenant. Myrtle and Charles made a covenant when they started Unity in the late 1800s. They made a covenant to surrender their lives to serve in abundance in life. And everything they did, the covenant on the collective was that they would serve life to teach and represent and reflect the truth. So while we're in the space of memory, what is the space then of our own covenant? What is your covenant that when we look at your life, during your 45-minute end of your life speech, what covenant are people going to talk about that because you lived and moved and had your being with that covenant, that you have made a difference in the world? About 4 or 5 weeks ago, I shared a story about a Buddhist blessing with a bowl. Do you remember that? And you take a little bowl that has meaning to you in some way, and you fill it with water as your morning ritual, and you bless it, and you give thanks, and you pray, and you invoke, and you call in, and you energetically hold that water about your life. And at the end of the day, you put that water into something living, a plant that's around your home, or an animal's dish, a pet dish, or whatever. Well, a couple from our community, Elaine and Camille, started doing that practice 3 or 4 weeks ago. They had a cat that wouldn't interact with anybody. It was live in the closet cat. Wouldn't come out, wouldn't talk, wouldn't visit, wouldn't meow. I call it, talking meow, and you get it. Anyway, wouldn't interact at all. This cat was always very skittish, right? One morning they noticed the cat was drinking the blessed water that they had prayed over. Guess what happened to the cat? Now that you ask, the cat's now interactive. The cat waits at the door when someone comes, meows, talks, meows, talks. They also had some plants that would not bloom. And so that they were at the point that they just kept the pot for the plant. We have an interesting group of seekers here. It's not in my consciousness. So these plants would not thrive with blossoms at all. They just kept the container that it was in. They started putting at the end of the day the blessed water. The plants now are thriving with blossoms. An act connecting with the covenant of the agreement of the power of life. If that amount of energy can change the whole beingness of a cat and the whole beingness of a plant in its memory of what it's supposed to do, which is to blossom, can something that small, with you and me making a covenant every day, change our planet? Do you believe it can? Yes. I believe it can, in every way. There's a profound quote that says that you can count the seeds in an apple, but only God can know how many apples will come from a seed. Alan Cohen tells a story in his book, The Breath of Life, about how he saw on TV when a baby girl is born, there is within her how many eggs is the potential of how many children she will have in her lifetime. And as he further studied it, he realized both spiritually and scientifically within each of us at our birth, there are the seeds of our potential and who we are to become. Many people spend their life in the question, do I have potential? Will I get potential? Rather than how will I step into my potential? I am ready to step into my potential right now. Would you say that with me? I am ready to step into my potential right now. And that potential, that wellspring that's called within you, is your covenant to this planet right here and right now. My covenant is peace. I think of peace before I go to sleep. I think of my role in peace. I think of how I can contribute to peace. I think about how I can talk about peace. I even asked Karen to put a sign on 4th Street about peace. Let's read it together. Peace begins with the person reading this sign. Turn around and say to the person she's talking to you. For those of you on your phone, write it on your phone.
Awesome. Awesome.
It sounds oxymoronish, but peace keeps me up at night. That covenant, those little actions, that space. We sing the songs for the free and the brave. The free has already happened if you allow it to be so. For we are here in the USA with all these privileges. But the brave is an ongoing sense of integrity that we act out every day. Brave is the ability not to gossip. Brave is the ability to stand for great things. Brave is the ability to set boundaries. Brave is understanding in your wick of covenant what you represent and what you reflect. Brave is the promise of a greater world that you hold and not aligning with small talk and all those other things that go on. Yes? Brave represents the courageous and the warrior consciousness of people that stand steadfast in their spiritual truth, unwavering, knowing that life outside will change, come and go all the time, but yet there is within us this core of understanding of who we are and what we believe. The interesting, amazing power of that. I love the work that moms are doing, aligned with Laura and her group of Mothers Against Violence. It's time, isn't it? It's really time. And when we look at our world today, we need, unlike we do not need bigger guns, we need bigger consciousness. Yes, we don't need to be medicated, we need to be meditated. We don't need, this is not a time in our culture for Unity New Thought, independent thinkers to be medicating. It is time to live in a place of meditation and to be able to hold this space in that divine covenant that we have made. People are fascinated at my age, in my late 30s, my age, that they asked me 3 times, do you not take anything? No, not, thank you God, no, I don't want to medicate. I want to feel this journey of vibrancy that we call life. Not a time for that. It's not a time for envisioning bigger bombs. It's a time to allow the explosion of the Christ consciousness to happen within us. To allow that explosiveness within us to occur, because when that explosion happens within you, you have a deeper awareness of what really matters, of what's really important, of where you want to spend your time and your energy and your conversations. You have a deep commitment to your own spiritual maturity to live in those principles. I had the good privilege of serving in our armed forces. I was there during that time in the Army, and so I can hold the both and. The people that get involved because they really believe they can make a difference, while at the same time realizing the suppression and all the various things that go with just doing it the same way we've always done it. Yes? If you look at our flag, our red, white, and blue, this is my own inner awareness, and I share it with you today. If you look at that awareness of our red, white, and blue flag, our red is our root chakra color. It's our energetic being. It's the root of who we are, the root of what we believe. Red is also the color of passion and also rage. The blue is our I am. It's the color that radiates, for those of you that see color, around the throat chakra. It's the I take a stand, I communicate, I represent. And the white is the essence of the Christ light, the energy, the essence, the white of every day, that you wake up with an open white chalkboard and only you decide and I decide, are we going to use our I am for passion, what we're for, or are we going to use our I am for what we're against, what makes us rageful? Does that make sense to you at all? Yeah. I sometimes second guess myself when these ideas want to flow through me, but I just I'm like, I hope they understand what I mean. It's like, just do it, Temple. I get that, just do it. So, but when you think of the flag, think of it in that perspective. Every day, where do you put your I am? Where do you put your energy? Where do you put your covenant into that space, into that consciousness, that way of being? I love my electric toothbrush. It's a super duper plug yourself in thing. It's just great. It's really awesome. But what I know about this electric toothbrush is I can charge it up, but if I don't use it, it will lose its charge. We get charged up on a day like today. We get charged up when we think about our covenant, making a difference, praying in, representing our communities, our state, our government, our world. We see a higher picture and vision. As you get charged up today, make 3 or 4 viable action steps. Use the energy you've been charged with. Thank you for being here today. Thank you.